before that war hit its current phase. And I will never forget, like, there was this conference call where they realized that where each other was from, and the Gazan, like, he'd lost two of his sisters in that episode, right? And they were both texting me like about the other one. I'm like, they're like, do you know that this guy's here? I'm like, yes, I know, and you're just going to deal with it. And it was uncomfortable. But what happened was they started to concentrate on the work. I'm like, why are you here? Well, to do good work for the client. I'm like, then do that. Like, neither of you had a vote in what's happening. You are not Likud. You are not Hamas. Like, you are not Hezbollah. You are not Republican Party or Democratic Party. You have no say in any of this. So let's do good work and be human beings.
Your business's success depends on relationships. Relationships with customers, relationships with employees, and relationships with stakeholders. What do they all have in common? They're all human. Because no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Welcome to the Human Connection Podcast. I'm your host, Karl Pontau. Each week I'll bring you stories, insights, and practical advice from experts that you can apply to your growing company and daily life. This week I'm excited to connect with Pete Schawacker. Peter is Chief Executive Officer of Nearshore Cyber, the Mexico and US-based firm that links North American enterprises with elite cybersecurity talent across Latin America, the Philippines, Greece, and South Africa. Over a 28-year career, he's created Optiv's industry-leading SIEM practice, served as CISO for Proxios and Axiom Technology Group, and now advises high-growth security vendors including Core Intelligent, NTT Data, DevSecFlow, and Query AI. He blends board-level perspective with deep operational expertise and is currently redefining the cyber talent supply chain from his base in Oaxaca. Congrats on connecting talent and companies across borders, and welcome to the Human Connection Podcast.
Glad to be here. Thanks.
So I think it's really interesting what you're doing, how you build these teams that stretch across borders, across time zones, and across cultures. And I imagine working in such a trust-required industry that is cybersecurity, that navigating some of the cultural differences between the team members and the companies you're placing with is going to be a bit of a challenge. So how do you address that with your clients?
The ones that have that consider location or geography a significant risk, I just don't do business with. Like, it's really simple. I have natural filters, and one of those is we're not all in the States, and if that's something that's a hard requirement for you, find somebody else. But if you appreciate diversity, like if you see having a variety of perspectives and opinions and backgrounds and cultures as an asset, then we can do business. We can do good things.
And so that makes a lot of sense. And it's the easier solution just to avoid doing business with people who have that sort of natural, or not natural, but it's like a distrust of people from other countries. And so when you're with such interesting locations that you're pulling talent from, what comes into your decision-making process for where you pull a team from based on what a client needs? What kind of factors do you think about?
Time zone. Most of it. It's mostly time zones. Travel distance. So like if you're going to hire one person, you're probably not going to visit them. You're probably not getting on a plane to see like the engineer that we placed in, Guatemala. But if you're going to hire 10, you're going to get on a plane. So it matters how far they are. Mexico City tends to be a favorite because from like New York City to Mexico is about 5 hours, Mexico City. But to Argentina, 16. Right? And that, it adds up. Like when we started this, we looked at the kind of like razors, like the things that would like allow us to cut away opportunities and sort of identify the ones that would work the best. And one of the main factors was time zone, time zone in terms of travel time and also feedback cycles. Like brilliant people in India, brilliant people, incredible talent. But if you provide somebody feedback on a piece of work that they did or a question, you got to wait 48 hours to get a response sometimes. Now, one of the effects is people who in places like Mumbai and Bengaluru and Hyderabad are really good at thinking ahead, really good at thinking ahead. But, this 14, 15 and a half hour time difference becomes problematic unless you hire 100 people and can afford to put a manager in country, right? So for us, like what we usually look for is like, how big is the team you want? What are you prepared to invest in terms of oversight and management of that team? If it's a big one, far-flung places will get you better talent cheaper. If smaller, which is usually the case with us, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4 people, closer. Philippines is where we go for night shifts. Great customer service. Hard to get people who will say no. But wonderful customer service and super smart people and really easy time zone delta. Like for us, it's 14 hours, straight 14 hours, not this half-hour thing. When we have GDPR, which is a European privacy requirement, usually go to Greece. That showed up because a friend recommended us and recommended that we check out Greece, and it turns out they're really smart people there who have a lot of poise. We're terrific consultants. And then we do South Africa as a kind of like near shore in terms of time zones, but not near shore in terms of travel time from Europe. And again, like terrific talent, you get a lot for your money there.
I imagine if we're dealing with the rapidly changing market, like with cybersecurity and all the AI changes that have been going on, that having a more diverse team where people are in other countries are kind of thinking differently than a local-based team would on how to approach some of these challenges. In addition to the team you have that stateside, I imagine that's a big asset for your clients as well, to have more diverse ways of thinking about these different challenges, adding to the solutions you come up with.
It can be. People don't show up. They don't come to my door saying like, I want a more diverse team. They say, I want the same talent, same caliber of talent, cheaper. Like that's where we start. And then they discover that diversity is an asset later. But like everybody, first question people say is like, what kind of talent's available in such and such places? And what's the cost? And how quickly can you get it to me? And then they just leave the fiddly details of things like labor laws and taxation and interviews and background checks to us. What we're about is like removing the impediments at a certain level. And then it's like we put teams together. And so the teams have a different set of dynamics than one that would be, all from Chicago or all from, Toms River, New Jersey or something like that. But yeah, people don't show up. People show up with a willingness to make the case for a foreign labor force or partial foreign labor force. Like most of them have tried India and failed, right? Or they've tried, Eastern Europe and failed. And they usually fail because they just don't understand the dynamics of like international business more than anything else.
You mentioned that one of the things you do is you help companies put together these teams. What is your process for putting them together and making sure that teams are working well despite the international cultures involved?
Well, it would probably come as a surprise to Americans to know that like the people I deal with are on to them. Like most of the world knows how to deal with each other. Americans have this idea that like nobody gets along. It's not true. Like, I mean, there's some exceptions. Like I had a team once that had, that consisted, among other things, of a guy from Tel Aviv and another one from Gaza. Now they didn't like the Israeli was still living in Israel, was still living in Tel Aviv, but the guy from Gaza was living in Mexico City. He moved here before that war hit its current phase. And I will never forget, like there was this conference call where they realized that where each other was from, and the Gazan, like he'd lost 2 of his sisters in that episode, right? And they were both texting me like about the other one. I'm like, they're like, do you know that this guy's here? I'm like, yes, I know. And you're just going to deal with it. And it was uncomfortable. But what happened was they started to concentrate on the work. I'm like, why are you here? Well, to do good work for the client. I'm like, then do that. Like, neither of you had a vote in what's happening. You are not Likud. You are not Hamas. Like, you are not Hezbollah. You are not Republican Party or Democratic Party. You have no say in any of this. So let's do good work and be human beings. And it was funny. The Israeli and I actually didn't get along very well on any basis. But he was like, okay, fine. Like, we had a better relationship than most people did. And then the Palestinian, he was like, yeah, I get it. Like, I'm just going to deal. And over time, they learned a certain respect for each other on a professional basis. They were never friends. But what I realized was that, and I kind of intuited this coming in, that if we take people who are not supposed to be able to get along and put ourselves in situations where we must do something that is good and productive, that has nothing to do with geopolitics or whatever you read in the newspaper, if you read a newspaper or you see on Fox News or blah, blah, right? We just ignore that stuff and focus on what we care about. Then what we realize that we're just like people trying to do our best in the world. And we create something that no one talks about anymore, which is peace. You can build peace if you take it seriously. And it's work, but it's not about not war. I mean, you got to do that too. But it's mostly about like, what good can we create in the world together?
And I love that, because that moment of realization that you all have as a team, that if we don't focus on these, like the divisive ones, is focus on, hey, let's just treat each other like professionals and human beings and make something good for the world that's a positive impact on the client, and set aside all the divisiveness. And people that are on, like, kind of often seen as opposite sides of a conflict, where they realize neither of them, like I said, had any direct causation for what's going on. They just happen to be labeled on either side of this conflict, that those two people can actually get along and work together and be professional and be productive and peaceful, like you said. I think that's a brilliant insight, that it's one of those, it's so obvious that people often don't stop to think about or even overlook it, because this is just, it's something that we don't realize that we're capable of doing as human beings.
We're told that life is some kind of like sporting event where it's like I root for one side and you root for the other side, and the other side is somehow my dread enemy, as if we have some say in the outcome of the game. Like, there is not a single democracy on the planet right now, but you have governments that claim that they are democracies as a way to convince you that, like, you shouldn't rise up or you shouldn't push back. And people will say that, you know, the other side is not undemocratic, and yet the people are responsible for the craziness that, you know, the violence perpetrated by that government, and therefore deserve to be imprisoned or starved to death or shot or whatever, or have their country invaded. It's like, you can't have it both ways. If it's not a democracy, how are people to be held accountable if it's not a democracy? And if it is a democracy, why are you saying they're not, right? And the fact is, like, none of these are. The people who are in charge have their own goals, their own aims. And what we can do is see what power we do have and use it to the benefit of ourselves and each other. And that requires, like, knowing what the game actually is about, and that it's that certain games are rigged and unwinnable. I will not play a game that I can't win at. And I can play the peace and love game. I can play and win. I can play a game that's about education and sharing, giving stuff away, and I can make money at it, because people will come to me like, you know what, you may be crazy, but I like what you're doing, and I would like to send business your way. And they all say that a little tongue in cheek, because they also know that that's the best shot that we humans have, is to be able to take actions that other people used to think were crazy. And that's like, get people together and do things like learn AI together. Like, we're running a series on what I'm calling an AI learning accountability group. It's also, for short, it's AI Tuesdays, where we get together and we just like do projects together and share what we're doing and hold each other accountable. Like, well, you said you were going to do this last week. Did you work on it? right? And you know, we are participating not just in an AI and technological revolution, but also one in terms of education and the way that we engage socially across great distances, right? Remember, that's the internet at work. We're still dealing with the internet and the fact that like I can communicate with you. I don't even know where you are in the world. I forgot to ask. And it doesn't matter. Where are you?
About 40 miles east of San Francisco in a city called Livermore.
Oh, yeah, okay, cool. Livermore, great. Right, and it doesn't like you could literally be in like Quebec or New Zealand or wherever, and we're not for the accent thing. I wouldn't know. That's magic.
And I think it shows how the when you're able to connect with people that way across distances and like I said, hold people accountable for like their actions and build tools together and make some cool things and have a positive impact together. You're not stuck playing the same game as everyone else if you don't want to. Like you said, you like get to pick that game you want to play that you know you could win at. And so I think that I can see why you enjoy the work you're doing, why you started this company, because you're allowing your clients to play the game they want to play by working with the people they want to work with, no matter where they are in the world.
You kind of. I mean, I started the company because I needed to make money. I hit my 50s. It was getting hard to find work. I've been down here for 5 years. And the kind of work that I do is like, it's sort of a narrow market all the time. You get older and that gets narrower. And I need to make a living. So I started a company. I thought, well, this would be easy. Staff and recruiting, pretty simple, a lot simpler than cyber. It turns out it's actually a lot harder. It's much more complex. But I also had this idea that like, I didn't want to do it like the old fashioned way. I didn't want to do like $200 steak dinners and wine tastings. I hate golf. It's fun for other people, but like I don't like golf. I wanted to do it by giving away education, by sharing what I do know and getting people together. And I had this faith in things that I'd seen over the years in various kinds of communities of practice, and things like meetup.com and the desire that people have to want to share and to give stuff away. Linux user groups was another example. And that became the basis of our marketing. And I thought, well, I bet I can do some good in the world and make some money. But I had to make some huge bets. And they seem to be paying off.
So if someone else was thinking about wanting to do good in the world and make some money at the same time, what are some of the big bets you took and how did you know they were like the best ones to make at the time?
I don't know. I don't like, how do I pick the bets I make? A lot of it, I mean, I don't know. A lot of it's intuition. A lot of it is like the people I've read and listened to over the years. Like for one of my heroes is Anthony Bourdain. I'm like, well, people like Anthony Bourdain. What if I do Anthony Bourdain-like things, but in IT and cyber? Never read his books, by the way. Just watch some videos. I don't think I've never seen Kitchen Confidential, but people are like, you're a lot like Anthony Bourdain. Some of it is like I'm tall and I'm white and I wear a lot of black. So some of it was like pretty superficial, but I started kind of emulating that and talking about where I live. And I'm married to a Oaxaqueña. I'm also queer, so I started a podcast called Queer in Cyber, and people are like, "Whoa, that's like bold." I'm like, "Well, yeah." And queer people are welcome here, and immigrants are welcome here, and political radicals are welcome here, and artists are welcome here, and all the sorts of weirdos are welcome in our community. And all you have to do is subscribe to the notion that we are living through a period that is unlike any in the past, like, I don't know, 250,000 years, depending on where you draw the line on when humans start. And if you want to share and be kind and helpful, like, you're welcome. And if you're a jerk, like, fuck off. Don't bleep that out. Right. So, yeah. I just like, I don't need to sell to everyone. Not everybody needs to like me or us. And so I'm a believer in, like, there's marketing people I've read subsequent to this who talk about like the power of polarization. Like, find people who are with you in part because they are against something else. I'm against racism. I'm anti-racist. I'm anti-homophobe. I'm anti-transphobic. I am pro-immigrant. I am pro-education. I'm anti-war. Neither Beijing nor Moscow nor Washington, as as they used to say during the Cold War on the left. Neither Moscow nor Washington. The answers do not come from those places, only the problems. And so there are certain principles that show up, some organically, some very deliberately. And we're on one side, and there are people who are on the other, and we're going to take care of our own. We're building lifeboats. And there's a long-term vision. The long-term vision is that someday we will see an economy where somebody who does like job X in Benin, actually came out of a conversation with a guy was talking to Benin a couple of years ago, and a person who's living in Livermore and doing job X, and London and job X, whichever London you want, are paid the same. That's my long-term vision. Same money for the same job. It will probably take longer than I have available in my lifetime. But okay, it just means it has to involve more than just me.
Well, I applaud your vision. I think it's one I definitely support. And I thank you so much for connecting with me today, Peter. And if you enjoyed this episode of the Human Connection podcast, please leave a review, and share it. If you'd like to connect with myself or Peter, check out the links in the show notes. And remember, no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Happy connecting.
Thanks, Carl. Later.